That was, we're on now. That was In a Broken Dream by Rod Stewart, Piper Lee Jackson, in fact. What did I play before that? Because you know what, I haven't been doing enough back announcements today. What was just before then?
I don't know.
What was it?
A track I was familiar with.
What was it?
Joyce?
Hold on. Oh, it's Kasabian, of course. Reasons Treason, yeah, by Kasabian. I apologise for the shoddiness of the broadcasting ability on that one. This is Mark Lamarr, sitting for Jonathan Ross, and Mark Steele's there, and Ronni Ancona's here now.
Hello.
Is this your new showbiz voice?
Hello. Yes, I'm in the theatre now, darling.
Who was that specifically just then?
That was nobody.
No, that was...
I'm very conveniently going into generic voices, so I can't get criticised.
We can all do that.
It was a little bit Fenella Fielding, though, wasn't it?
Fenella Fielding.
Yeah, it wasn't far off.
I love Fenella Fielding.
When you watch a programme...
She wears her eyeliner about 6 feet underneath each eye. She's quite an eccentric, actually. Sorry. Anyway, little digression. Carry on.
That's neckliner, then. In fact, it's footliner.
She's an amazing woman.
When you watch, like, television or a film or something, do you automatically just start trying to do the voice?
Do you know, I have noticed that that is the case a little bit, which makes me realise how hideously tragic I've become over the years. There's something so
have you got worse at that then? Have you got more
well,
down
even
that line?
when, just inadvertently, when I'm just sort of subconsciously watching something, and I think I automatically just start talking. I was told to shut up in a cinema because I was just watching the film,
Ronnie,
and I was just...
I can't imagine anywhere in the world you haven't been told to shut up. And I say that with... I couldn't
like
love Ronnie
to
more,
state
but
that
she can't shut up.
I'd like to say there's more to me than silly voices, but not much.
When
I make very good scrambled eggs.
At your wedding, I bet with who was it? I was betting with someone with how many impressions you'd get into your.
Which I didn't know because I didn't think I was going to do a speech.
It's not called an acceptance speech, is it? It's just a wedding speech. I'm so showbiz, but I was trying, and I'd bet 6, and I think you only did like 3, and I was.
I didn't do any.
You did the whole thing as Moira Stewart.
You see, in your mind, you didn't do any, but you did an Audrey Hepburn during your husband's speech.
Oh, dear God, that's how sick I've become.
Exactly.
I'm not even aware. I get confused with the voices in my head and the other voices. It's a mess up there. It's like Clapham Junction.
You were heckling your new husband.
Jenny Claire once said to me, I was doing a thing for her Edinburgh show, and she passed this huge, great big telecom box that had come out on the road with all the wires everywhere, and she said, "That is your head."
Yes, that's absolutely true.
That is your head, only that's more organised.
Yeah.
And that's from Jenny, which is a slight concern.
Who is, I think the word scatterbrained.
Yes.
Scatological and scatterbrained, I think, would be the 2 words to best sum up.
I know, but I make her feel a lot better, you see.
Can you do her?
Oh, don't ask her. Oh, I see. Sorry.
Can you do her?
No, I don't think I've ever done Jenny, actually. But I'm on strike from impressions. I've got a very good reason because of my show. I've got to keep my voice pure for the theatre, you know.
So does you use your voice more to do another person's voice than to do your own? So it's resting it.
Well, let's mention what Ronni is doing, which is you're playing the part of Lina Lamont in Singin' in the Rain.
Yes.
Which, if you remember the film, is that the whole point of the film, it's all about a woman who, when the talkies come in, her voice is very unsuitable for talking, and she was fine in the silent movies. And the voice goes something like this.
Oh, the voice. Oh, yes, her voice.
Well, could that have been a bigger cue?
I'm sorry.
Because you couldn't see this, obviously, but I did the hand gesture that ended up...
Heaven's sake, what's the idea?
Oh, now she does it. Now I'm talking. Now she's doing it. But I not only did I did the big rolling hand gesture, which ended up pointing at Ronni. Oh, what? Me? Who? When? Where? What?
You
why?
do a lot of hand gestures. I don't automatically take them as cues.
Some of them are just for me.
I usually take them as cues to piss off. Oh, I shouldn't say that, should I?
Oh, look
I'm in trouble.
2 minutes in a musical, and suddenly she's become all darling.
About that. I'm in a lot of trouble now. I'm very sorry to all the listeners.
Well, you went over the mark there, and I wouldn't be surprised if you got
that can't be that bad. I've heard Jonathan say worse things than that.
Yeah, and how much trouble is he in with the Broadcasting Standards Commission on a weekly basis?
Oh,
is he in Florida at the moment? Because he'll be coming back with lies about, it's in the middle of a hurricane. He'd enjoy saying hurricane anyway, but there's hurricanes in Florida.
Is he over in Florida at the moment?
Yeah, but he's nowhere near where the hurricanes are hitting. But of course, when he comes back, and I was flying through the air, and there were cows, and the fattest man you ever saw, and you see, I can't do impressions, but full gusto.
Didn't he have been doing some shows from LA?
Yes, but you can see he's not doing that today, Ronnie, because I'm on and you're on with
And
me.
a marvellous substitute you are.
Oh, Nelly Furtado. I'm going to play a record and then we'll talk about
I think
this.
you should put a record on and we'll all try and calm down. Maybe if we go to separate rooms and I'll talk to each of you individually and see if we can get the rest of the show back on some sort of track.
We're actually very, very good friends. And in fact, so much
Yes,
so...
we are very good.
We were once caught erroneously by... there's a word from Singing in the Rain.
That's very... Do I say erroneously?
No, it's Moses supposes. No, it's roses.
Erroneous.
Have you seen the rest of it? Erroneously.
Did you enjoy
yeah.
it?
No. And let's
you
get... Yeah, dear, you were fantastic in it. But me and Ronnie were once, because we were very old friends and good friends, I hope.
Yes.
And we were once leaving a club and this paparazzi ran up to us and took our picture. And there's never been any romance between us, we've just been mates. And I don't move in the circles where that sort of thing happens, and I don't know how you deal with it. And I went up to him, what are you doing? I'm out with my mate, we're just walking down the road, what are you doing? And then, do you remember this?
Yes.
And then some other people were walking past, complete bystanders, they just started haranguing this bloke, and going, what are you doing? Leave them alone if they want to go out. And he went, oh yeah, I'm sorry. And he took the film out of the camera and threw it in the street. I think it was probably his first day at paparazzi school.
That was very... It was a great...
But we weren't, we were not
totally
romantically
shamed
linked at all.
into sort of taking his film.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like being confrontational. I was just going, oh, come on, what are you doing? It's two people. We're not like in that. We're not Posh and Becks or maybe that was the problem.
Yes.
That was it. The impression was so good. You probably were doing an impression as we were walking down the street anyway, and I was saying, oh, shut up. This is, you weren't expecting this one today. This is Biz Markie. And then he rambles on about and thanks people for 20 minutes there. That was Biz Markie with I'm Singing, and that was my choice specifically for my guest at the moment.
That was just phenomenally suitable and topical. But with a Lamarr slant.
Oh, there were about 8 jokes I could have done there, but I chose not to.
Ronnie, do you know why people say...
I was just about to say, who do you think you are, the Queen of Sheba, to lead into that? You've heard this expression, Ronnie?
Yes, I have, and I don't know why, but there are there's lots of other interesting ones, like OK, and where OK comes from, and which was supposed to come from the American Civil War and stuff. But I didn't know about the Queen of Sheba.
They didn't ask about that. There's a whole Bill Bryson book of such matters.
That's brilliant. No, I don't, but I do know the
I know something else.
questions. For example, the capital of Peru, Lima.
Can I just say, though, the first email we got was someone wrote in saying, no idea.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, there's a brilliant one.
Brilliant.
It actually leads into it. So there's a piece of classical music. This is, by the way, from Jane Harvey. There's a piece of classical music called The Arrival of the Queen of Sheba, which is popular at weddings. So it feels like it's going somewhere. And then it says, I have no idea who the Queen of Sheba was, but she must have been important because of that tune. That's splendid. I'm such an admirer of Jane Harvey. That's writing in to say, I don't really know.
Almost exactly what I said would happen.
Dear Mark and Mark, I don't really know. Thank you very much.
Sorry to waste your time.
That's brilliant.
You know what? Next week on the show, at the beginning of the show, I'm going to say, no time wasters, please.
And someone, write in saying, Dear Mark and Mark, I don't wish to waste your time, but that's all I've got to say. There's one here. David Crawford says, the Queen of Sheba was a biblical figure who, after hearing Solomon's fame and wisdom, went to test him with difficult questions. A sort of a Jeremy Paxman of her time, I suppose. No, I have to hurry you. Once Solomon had answered all her questions, she gave him a great number of gifts. Well, not like Paxman, more like sort of generation game. In return, Solomon gave her all she desired and whatever she asked besides. So I guess someone who thinks they are the Queen of Sheba expects to get everything they want.
Yeah, well, no,
I think it's more to it than that.
Maybe. But that sounds sort of plausible.
So So someone who tested Solomon on his wisdom, and he obviously won that week. But the winner this week is King Solomon with 28 points.
Gets a fondue set and a cuddly toy.
Yeah. So it would be like saying to a band, who do you think you are? Hearsay? You won a competition, so what? There's new ones this week. It'd be like saying that. Probably we have no idea.
Reasonably wise.
No, that sounds like...
It wasn't just answering questions that made for wisdom, was it? It was his sort of way of dealing with various social situations. It wasn't just a matter of answering loads of questions and being the one who was able to win on... what's the one? Blockbuster thing.
Gold Run.
Countdown.
Gold Run, yeah.
Gold Run? Haven't even heard of Gold Run.
No, what's it called? The one where your Gold Run. You've got a Gold Run. Bob Holness.
Gold Run?
No, it's not what it was called.
No, but that was the
Golden Shot.
No.
No.
That was Monkhouse.
Which bus stop are we at the moment?
Wow.
This is like being in a hospice. Blockbuster is what we were looking for there.
Yeah.
Or blockbusters, in fact. Anyway, let's get on to Ronnie's in this musical. I'm surprised you haven't really done theatre before. You were saying that, suddenly it's a weird thing doing theatre, and I just always assumed that you had. Have you not?
Well, I've done sort of lots of comedy review shows, but I haven't really done anything to this scale, and certainly not a musical before.
Are they rubbish, comedy review shows?
They're just... well, I've done some that have been quite successful and some that sort of haven't. But this is just a different ball game because this is full of twirlies. They're called twirlies. This is the musical language for the singer-dancers. They're just phenomenal, these dancers in this. We all do this vocal warm-up before we start the show, and they're sitting there doing this vocal warm-up, and it just makes my eyes water because everywhere I look, they're in various different states of contortion. You just turn around, you're like, whoa there, as they've got their legs forced apart and behind each other's necks
part of their
and things
vocal
like that. That's during the vocal warm-up. It's like Fame, I tell you.
See, Ronnie's vocal warm-up started when she began to talk, and it hasn't finished since, so she doesn't really need to be doing that.
In the middle of Fame. They're a little disappointing, the dancers, because they do wear leg warmers, but they don't dance on top of cabs or buses or anything like that.
No, it's all changed, isn't it, around
They
here?
don't dance on the canteen tables. That doesn't happen. But they are extraordinary, and they're so young. They're so young. It's like collagen thrust in your face to remind you of your age. They are phenomenal.
Are they different from actors, dancers?
Oh, God, totally different.
In what respect? Because actors, that lovey cliche, there is real truth in that, and actors do sit around telling each other how marvellous each other is.
Do you think Judi Dench could wrap her legs around her back of her neck?
Now, obviously, I know the difference between dancers and actors is that dancers can dance. I meant as a sort of personality trait of someone who would choose that living.
Musical theatre is a real little world. I mean, when you hear them talk about musical theatre, it's like a whole sort of microcosm, and they all know who everybody's working, all the West End shows.
There's a lot of that.
And it is quite fascinating. It's like a totally different world, and within that, there's a sort of the people who are extremely well known in musical theatre and unbelievably talented. They're not household names, but they're stunning. I mean, they're amazing.
Rivalry?
They can do everything.
Is there a lot of rivalry?
Can do everything.
Yeah, is it as bitchy as like the comics world, which is very bitchy?
I think the dancers are really, really lovely and supportive, but then I'm not in a situation where they're jealous of my arch formation, if you know what I mean. So I'm not really in the thick.
The arch formation was actually at the Battle of Hastings as well. That's one of the reasons they won.
That's where it started.
Yeah. No.
I only get to do a tiny little bit of dancing at the end, and I have wellies on. Very disappointing. No one can see my turnout.
Ronnie, I've seen the show. That's not dancing, sister.
No, I know.
You're moving in time with other people, but that's not the same as dancing. And normally I would have gone.
I have to hold on to them as well.
Yeah, I know. And I can see you. The lips were moving as you were going 2, 3, 4.
I do a song though.
I know you do a song. I saw the show. Did you think I would have not noticed one of my best friends doing a song in the middle?
Very well, actually.
You're fantastic, and I've got to say, I was delighted because we are friends, and there's nothing worse than going to see something that a friend's done and you're horrified by it, and you so stole the show.
Yeah. It's the Paddy Durr. Wasn't that special? Me and Adam Cooper.
See, he's one, isn't he? You were saying these people. He's an amazing dancer, and I'd never heard of him until this came out. But suddenly it turns out he's just the biggest name.
He's like a god in Japan, Adam Cooper, because he was the original prince in the Swan in Matthew Bourne's Swan Lake, the all-male Swan Lake, which was just phenomenally successful. And he's extraordinary because they have, you see, it's funny when you're not in dance and you look at dancers, they all look extraordinary to you because they can all do things that you
Japanese
can't
people
do.
Can't dance.
But you look at Adam, he is very special because he's just got this centre of gravity that he makes it look so simple.
You in your wellies would be worshipped in Japan. They can't dance. They have no sense of rhythm. It's unbelievable. I once went, and this isn't just a blanket coverage of the whole place. I was doing a documentary about Japanese culture a few years ago, and we went to a club, and there were all these 15-year-old girls, a proper little youth club disco sort of thing, except for there were about 7,000 of them. And it was amazing. This pumping beat would be going out, and there's the whole place was a dance floor, and there's podiums as well. and you really could not find one person who was in tune with the music.
What about all because there's a big
The
boom in Japanese
karaoke.
reggae, isn't there now? You know, and that surely
See,
they must
that's
be
them
able to-
trying to, that's them trying to dance because they're doing it on the wrong beat.
They're too obsessed with trendy shoes. That's the Japanese problem.
Right, so
they're in their wrong
we've solved
footwear.
everything about them. They can't dance and they got bad footwear.
They are, a lot of them, very, very obsessed with high fashion, aren't they? A lot of the Japanese people.
Well,
that come over to
there
London
is
are
that
like-
kind of disposable culture about the place, and I think we are in danger of going. And the other thing about them,
I did saw the most extraordinary.
dance.
The most extraordinary.
Not one of
sight
them.
About 3 weeks ago, I was in Switzerland.
The Japanese, they can't dance.
Japanese can't dance, and that's all I know about
and
the
there's
Orient.
another thing. It's terrible. What are we being reduced to?
People in Hong Kong could, then when it went back to China, couldn't they? Bound on their feet. That's fact.
About 3 weeks ago, I was in Switzerland, and in the evening we went to this place called the Edelweiss restaurant, which turned out to be a Sound of Music theme restaurant.
How
And there was a bloke in
fantastic.
all the alpine gear, and he was just singing a whole series of songs from the Sound of Music. And there was about 8 or 9 of us there. And then downstairs on the ground floor, there were about 100 Japanese people on a coach party thing, or 2 or 3 coach parties, who were all singing along to "Doe a deer, a female deer," and "High on a hill was a lonely goat."
Were any of them
and
dancing?
That sort of thing. They weren't dancing.
There you
no.
go.
That's
It did
They
get-
know their
It
limitations.
did get even more extraordinary this evening, because the bloke in all the alpine gear then started to play the saw, then he played the spoon, then he did a song with a penny spinning around a little thing, like one of those things, a charity thing, and played an alpine horn, which was about 40 feet long, and it ended up with him singing a yodeling version of Blue Suede Shoes.
How fantastic.
No, not fantastic.
It is.
Utterly
Can you
nauseating.
imagine getting chicken in a basket and that for your evening
Yeah,
entertainment?
that
That's what I say
lakeside
value for
thorough.
money.
That
Exactly.
disgusts me. That absolutely disgusts. I bet it was disgusting. I bet it was heinous.
Well, yeah,
Hateful.
but I mean, it goes to a point where you go round the other side and it just becomes
Kitsch,
extraordinary.
it's a thin line.
Yodeling
a thin
version
line
of Blue
between hate and
Suede
kitsch.
Shoes.
It's
And a bloke with all the gear, the big thick blue straps and everything, and the shorts, and over to one side he's got an alpine horn that was about 40 feet long. He had to stand on the
Stop
top
now.
floor.
I'm getting a
It
bit
doesn't
flustered.
take. It doesn't take much for me to engender hatred for a stranger, but I hate him. There you go. That's all there is. Japs can't dance, and Swiss people shouldn't yodel Blue Suede
You
Shoes.
can't say Japanese people can't dance.
Have you ever? Name me one famous Japanese dancer.
No, but
I apologise for Japs. I shouldn't have said that because that sounded derogatory and I didn't mean it to be. But they can't dance, and that is
I
derogatory.
think there are some famous Japanese ballet dancers, actually. but I
That is
can't
such a
remember
that
any.
is such a drunk at a pub
I
and
think there
argument.
are.
No, there are. In fact, I used to live with one for about 7 years. What was his name? Little fella, great
Some of
dancer.
my children are Japanese ballet dancers, I'll have you know.
This is a band called the Temperies with a song that I'm sure you know, but this is a particularly beautiful version. This is dedicated to the one I love. They were called the Temperies, and that was their version of Dedicated to the One I Love. I wasn't sure, actually, playing that, if that was the right mood, because obviously we're in this sort of cocoon with no windows for 4 hours, and you're obviously living your Saturday, and that may have been just a little bit too gentle. You're probably out shopping or running around doing errands and everything like that. So if it was wrong, I apologise, but I'm sure it was a great track nonetheless.
It was a fine piece
But,
of music.
but it's very much a mood-setting piece of music, is what I'm saying.
Yes,
And you sort of
but
forget
it's-
when you're in this studio for hours on end that there are people out
It's
there.
good because a lot
living
of
their
people are
lives.
very neurotic and frenetic on a Saturday morning.
Why
And
did
that
you,
will have calmed them down.
Why did you bring that up?
I don't know. Very strange. I should
Who do you
mention
think you are?
neurosis.
The queen of neurosis?
But you know, there's a lot of things to do on a Saturday morning.
There's going to be a
People
thing.
need to stand and take stock.
There's going to be a thing in mental homes from now on where people go, who do you think you are? Ronni Ancona? There'll be, particularly when people have split personalities and that sort of thing.
Do you
There will
get
be
people
that.
coming
And in
along to
years
the show,
come-
do you think, who are sitting there about 3/4 of the way through go, oh, she hasn't done her posh spice?
Do Barbara Windsor?
Only Mark. I think he was the only person who heckled that. But,
It did bring things to a little bit of a standstill, didn't it?
yeah.
It
that
was during Make 'Em Laugh, and she wasn't even on.
Do your O.J. Simpson, he shouts out from the stalls. In the middle of my show-stopping number.
You are embarrassed about being an impressionist, aren't you?
I am a bit. Well, no, yes. Well, yes and no. No and yes. I like to do other things as well. I don't- it's
Everything's
just
no
like-
and yes, though, isn't it? With with your neurosis, it will always be well, yes and no. I can't be
I'm
definite
quite
about
a
this.
confused type of person. I've come to the
Are you?
conclusion. Yes.
Oh, well, you know that at least.
We were talking when that record was on, weren't we, Mark, about how we both feel Luddites and slightly out of things with this sort of society marching on with all this technology.
The iPod thing, I know this sounds like a very old man, but we know when you get the people go, oh, you can get 10,000 tracks, and I think, why do you need? I suppose that's handy, because if you go out, up the shops, and then all of a sudden you change your mind and you go on a round the world sailing expedition, if you've only got 6,000 tracks, you'll get to the Cape of Good Hope and think, oh, now I've got to play some tracks twice.
Yes, but it's now...
You would have missed this, but earlier on, I was talking about something, and Mark went, oh, that just sounds like an old man moaning on. And it was about my postman doesn't come till 3 in the afternoon, something which actually affects my life.
Yes.
Well, and he told me off for that, so sit back for a minute. You sound like an old man. What are you going on about the iPod? Why you don't have to use one? Whereas the post, 3 o'clock.
I don't have to use one, but I do have to listen to people
iPods do affect, because I think people are slightly intimidating if you're not, if they don't think that you're up to scratch with what's going on.
But you're sort of intimidated by everyone. You'd be intimidated by a postman turning up at 3 o'clock. You'd go, oh, was that the right time?
Well... Yeah.
See, confused you there. You're intimidated by me now, aren't you? Wait, you know what? I'll play a tune and then I'll give you time to think.
Does your postman come at 3 o'clock, or he doesn't
come till 3 o'clock?
He doesn't come till 3 o'clock.
No, that's not soon enough. But I tell you what,
but they have to, if they've got a whole round, if they've got a whole round, they have to come somewhere. Like when I was a milkman,
but they used to come at 11.
Oh, you don't want your milk at 3 o'clock.
Shush. Hands on heads. Next week on the show, Terry Hall and Jar Wobble will be in, and so in honour of Miss, I haven't got time for a track by both of them. But you know how much I love the special, so this is them. I've got to take control somehow and do the radio part of the show. I've got to put on a tune. That's coming up to 1 o'clock. What a fine tune. That's all on the edge of our seats there. That was Friday night and Saturday morning, of course, by the specials, and Terry Hall will be on the show next week, as will Jar Wobble. And two just great men, and both of whose company...
Jar Wobble?
Jar Wobble.
Oh, right, sorry.
From Public Image and The Invaders of the Heart and whatever.
And he used to drive an underground train.
He did, yes. Anyway, Ronnie, we've got 1 minute exactly, and you've got 1 minute. This is like one of those awful game shows on a Saturday. 1 minute exactly to plug your show.
Yes, it's at Sadler's Wells at 7:30. Every day.
12
twice
seconds. Well
on Wednesdays and twice on Saturdays and once on Sundays.
Now do it again as Barbara Windsor.
No, we got 16 seconds.
iPod, smart.
Hold on, that voice, that was a sock puppet voice.
Do you know, talking of
that was Sherry Lewis.
I've got time to say how much I love lamb chop.
That was lamb chop that you were doing.
And look who's come in the room. It's Cilla Black.
Oh,
go on, do your Barbara Windsor. That was lamb chop.
Lamb chop? Yeah. I do a very good lamb chop, actually.
But that's because it's Barbara Windsor. What? Go on, do it. Do Barbara Windsor.
Lamb chop isn't Barbara Windsor.
What did you just do?
I did.
You did, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
You got them confused.
Well, that's not lamb chop.
That's lamb chop. When you're on your high-praying programmes on BBC One, you don't get them confused, do you? You come on here and you muck it all up. 88 to 91 FM, this has been Radio 2 from the BBC, and still is.